Coach, big challenge this weekend. What have you seen from Alabama that stands out?
They're probably the most explosive team we've played. They get great productivity out of all their skill guys. Quarterback's outstanding. He obviously protects the ball well. He's thrown a lot of touchdowns and not very many interceptions. He makes good decisions. He can extend plays with his feet. He's protected well by outstanding offensive line and opens holes for good backs. They have great depth at running back. Harris, and Jacobs. All those guys are top flight SEC backs. And the receiving core, including the tight ends, is probably the best I've seen as a whole at this level. I think Judy's outstanding. Ruggs, Smith, both Smiths, the receiver and the tight end. I mean, they're all high-round draft picks when it's their time. And they're very, very well coached. Mike Loxley does a great job. Josh Gaddis and he's their wide receiver coach. He and I worked together at Penn State for a long time, so I have tremendous respect for them.
When their quarterback's that precise with the football, what can you do, or what do you hope to do as a defense to kind of disrupt some of the rhythm that he gets into?
Well, we're going to play our game. I mean, they're good, but we're good too. I mean, we're not going down there and playing on our heels or anything along those lines. I mean, we're going to do the things that got us to this point. I mean, we make decisions every week based on matchups and based on what we feel can give us the best opportunity to be successful in a particular situation. So if it's time to pressure, we're going to pressure, whether it's a pressure designed to stop the run or a pressure designed to get after the quarterback. And if we can disguise and get into some coverage aspects, I think we have a good opportunity to do that. They've got an army full of analysts who study every tendency that we have, probably back to when I was a secondary coach at Yale in the mid-'90s. So we recognize that we've got to maybe change some tendencies and keep them off guard, because I think Tua is really, really good at identifying coverages and recognizing things. So things like that, just getting a stop is going to be key. And that's what we've talked to the players about, playing one snap at a time and one series at a time. That's what it has to be. You can't look at say, oh my God, we got to play 75 good snaps. No. You got to play one snap at a time for 6 seconds, and you got to play one series at a time. When we get them to third down, we can't let them off the hook. And our guys played them very, very well last year, and I think they're really looking forward to this challenge.
Is Tua more dangerous because of his physical skills, or because of the fact that it seems like he sees the field almost like a pro?
Yeah, I mean, we talked in our room whether he reminds us more of Russell Wilson or Drew Brees was said, Michael Vick was said at one point, and he's really got a quick release. He does a really good job looking off second and third level players. He's very accurate. He's throwing to good players too. I think those receivers are, as I said, as good a group as I've seen. I mean, Judy's just explosive. Ruggs is explosive. I mean, those guys are fast. And it's our job to disrupt those guys, and it's our job to try to create disruption for Tua. And like I said, it's just about getting stops. It's one play at a time and one series at a time.
Coach, you mentioned Judy a couple times, that they like to line him up in a slot and have him paired up against your nickel. I mean, what's your impression of him and how they use him?
They move him around a lot, and those guys he runs a slant route about as well as any player I've seen in a long, long time. He's got tremendous quickness and tremendous top end speed. He comes out of his breaks really quickly, and what they all do really, really well is they do a good job with regard to yards after the catch. The thing we've talked to the guys about in the pass game is not getting the ball thrown over our head and eliminating or minimizing yards after the catch.
Is it fair to say that it's more important for Alabama to make mistakes than it is for Mississippi State to play perfectly to win this game?
We don't need to play perfectly. That's what I told the guys that. They don't need to think about that along those lines. They just need to play one snap at a time. I think we're built to compete with these guys. Our guys are big and strong up front, and we're fairly talented in the secondary. I think there's some good matchups that we can exploit. We've been in tough and tight games, and like I said, it's really just I haven't really thought about it in those terms. I mean, it's our job to force them to make mistakes is what it is. I mean, I don't expect them to just go out and fumble the ball. I don't expect them to miss blocks. I don't expect them to misfire on throws. They haven't done it all year. I don't know why I'd expect them to do it this week. It's our job to create disruption. That's what we talk about all the time. last week against Louisiana Tech, we jumped on them early, and it sort of became a bend but don't break game. I don't particularly like those type of games, but it kind of became that way because, you know, just did. And that's not our style of play. I mean, our style of play is forcing the issue. It's a basketball team that tries to full court press you, and part of that then is getting tackles for loss, is getting disruption, is, you know, forcing mistakes and forcing people's hands. Now, you know, LSU, who's a team that I have a significant amount of respect for, and the defense coordinator I have a tremendous amount of respect for, you know, really got in their face and tried to do that too, and just wasn't able to. You know, and I think with Alabama, sometimes I know that everybody's saying their special teams are down this year. I haven't studied it like other coaches have, but you know, I think the other side of the ball, you know, puts so much pressure on you too. You know, because they create negative plays, they create turnovers, they create field position things, and that's how Coach Saban's won with that formula for a very, very long time. And now, I think you could make a case that he has his most explosive offense that he's ever had.
Are your guys up front putting the weight on their own shoulders to get this done Saturday?
I think they always do. So I don't think it's. Again, I can honestly tell you, we haven't talked about these guys any differently than we talked about any team any other week. I mean, we know what's at stake. I mean, we recognize the opportunity that's in front of us. I mean, in your lifetime, you only get to play against the #1 team in the country X amount of times. So it is what it is. We recognize that. But I mean, you know, I don't think Jeffrey Simmons, I think he's excited because he knows it's a great opportunity, and you know, he knows, you know, what this could mean for him personally and for the program and for, you know, the team and the program. But I know for a fact he worked just as hard last week and the week before and the week before and the week before. But yeah, I think those guys, you know, I've suggested to our guys, you know, this is a team that runs for 225 yards and throws for 340 yards. You know, so we have to stop the run at all costs, make it one-dimensional, and then, you know, do what we have to do in the back end to cover those guys and pressure.
You guys have been really good on third down this year. On the other side, Alabama's really good at converting on third down. What about them makes them so good? Is it Tua? Is it the receivers and the routes they run? A combination of those two things?
Yeah, it's a combination of those things. I mean, it's amazing. You know, you break down all the films. They don't have that many third downs. They don't have as many third downs as other teams. You know, and then you sit there and go, well, maybe they must have a lot of third and shorts if they're that good. It's not really that either. I mean, they have probably the appropriate percentage of third and long, third and medium, and third and shorts. They do execute well because they are so fast. They can spread you out all over the field. And if you play zone, they find little seams in the zone. And if you play man, you know, they do a good job. Separating in man-to-man coverage. You know, not a lot of teams have tried to pressure them. You know, and maybe it's because the quarterback has good escapability. Maybe it's because they don't want to put players in one-on-one. You know, in certain situations when we find it to our advantage, we'll pressure, and other situations we'll cover. And I think we've got a pretty good game plan, you know, for third down. And it will be Wednesdays are third down and red zone days, and they're very, very good in the third down area, and they're very, very good in the red zone area as well.
How do you feel like your team has performed in practice this week?
Good, and the scout team was excellent. You know, we put, you know, Maiden at quarterback because he's left-handed. You know, so that was good. And you know, we put O'Connor, and we put Torrey Dixon, and we put Corey Charles, who were defensive backs, but we put those guys at wide receivers, and you know, and Spivey and Cumbest have done a good job being the tight ends, and you know, Rivers does a great job all the time as a running back for us, and he's done a great job simulating all those guys. And our GAs in quality control have been very organized and given us a great look, and it's really been our fastest. You know, and those scout team guys have made some plays too, and you know, it's been our fastest, most challenging week of practice. But our guys have made the right checks. They've done everything right, and I think you know, we call today Hunt the Ball Wednesday, and tomorrow's No Repeat Thursday. So I challenge the guys to come out and have our best Thursday of practice of the year and get ready to go to Tuscaloosa and compete.
What kind of a play call were you at Yale? What were your
The game's changed so much. It's funny. What did we do the other day? We were just watching. I was referring back to Penn State to see a blitz. And so I asked one of the guys to put on the 2014. I asked one of our GAs to find the 2014 Penn State Rutgers game. And I got caught watching a couple plays, and I was looking at two backs and a tight end, one back and two tight ends. I was looking at formations that seemed like dinosaurs, and that was just 4 or 5 years ago. Now imagine in the mid-'90s. I mean, everybody thought when it was a one-back set, it was you know, a wide-open attack. You know, the game has just changed so incredibly much. And you know, when we were talking about Tua earlier this week, and again, people compared to Russell Wilson. Somebody in our staff said Drew Brees, Michael Vick. A lot of different things were said. And you know, in the '90s, I misfortune, I suppose, of coaching against Michael Vick when he was at Virginia Tech. And I thought he was one of the best college football players I ever saw. And I try to imagine him in today's game, how he'd have performed in today's modern offenses.
We hear a lot about offensive coordinators creating scripts for the first 2-3 possessions of a game, but we don't really hear about what defensive coordinators do to combat that. How do you kind of plan for an opposing offensive script?
Well, Thursday when we get together as a staff, we watch, kind of the last second. We've done most of our homework on 1st and 10, second and long, third down and red zone. Thursday when we get in there, we watch 2-minute, we watch 4-minute, we watch their sudden change, we watch all their trick plays, we watch their coming out area, and then we don't watch all the first 15, but we have a study on the team's first 15 to 20 plays. And a lot of times an offensive play caller is going to line up in formation A or B or C to see how you're going to line up to it. Sometimes they'll take a shot, sometimes they'll have a trick play. So every play caller, has certain tendencies in those first 15 plays. That's what made the Louisiana Tech game weird, because we didn't get to the end of the first 15 plays till middle of the second quarter. So it's kind of a strange, it was just kind of a strange game. But, Mike Loxley's been a great offensive mind for a long, long time. We went against him when we were at Penn State and he was at Maryland. I think he does a really, really good job. I think certainly Coach Saban has his hands in every aspect of the program, and there's a certain way he wants the offense run. But I think, even he has changed in the last couple of years to adopt to the modern spread offenses and things along those lines. And they definitely have as much skill as any team I've seen. And I do think that they, I think they are going to want to, they've been on top. How about this? This is amazing. If you just counted their points they had in the first half, they'd be in the top 25 in the country in scoring offense. So, it's not like they're feeling us out. They're good enough athletes, and they're good enough at all those positions to take shots early. And when they get on you, they don't let up. They let up when it's appropriate to let up. But, in the first half, they're going to try to score 100 if they possibly can. And it's our job not to let them.
There's a lot of talented linebackers on the team. Where does Willie Gay fall in that mix, and how's he playing lately?
Talented? He's as talented as anybody on the team. He can run, he can hit. He's still young, and I think being local, I think expectations are certainly high for him. And I think sometimes when you're local and you're young and expectations are high, sometimes it's been unrealistic. But he's a very good player, and he's been very productive. And each week, his role's grown a little bit. He and Leo Lewis have sort of split time, and he always has a role in the game. And like a basketball coach, we always try to find a way to get him his touches, if you will, because he is a good blitzer, he is fast, and I couldn't be happier with how Willie Gay is playing.